Hello, everyone. This is Justin Arman from parentsforliberty.org. I've put together the segment that I did on the radio interview with Gary Johnson at Logos Radio Network. His show is called Live and Let Live. It was on January 12th, Sunday evening. I hope you enjoy it. This is actually the first interview I've done, so please excuse the jitters and don't let the uhs and ums be a trigger word for any of your late night drinking games. Please enjoy, and you can check out the Facebook page is facebook.com/parentsforliberty. Thank you very much, and enjoy the interview.
At logosradionetwork.com. In this hour, we're going to be talking with Justin Arman. He is co-founder of Parents for Liberty. Their website is parentsforliberty.org. Justin Arman, welcome to Live and Let Live.
Well, thank you, Gary.
Well, Justin, I guess we can just kind of begin by asking you, what is Parents for Liberty?
Well, Parents for Liberty is a community of parents, families, people that would like to be parents in the future or just, have stepchildren. It's just any kind of influence on children would be our membership. And it's about fully embodying what we would like to see in the world. It's, instead of activism or fighting the state, it's really about embodying the principles of liberty, love, and joyfulness.
Okay. And I'll let you elaborate on that more as we go along. But one of the things, looking at your website, I noticed that I would like to kind of pursue, Justin, is you are someone who advocates homeschooling, and you say that it's private schools are better than public schools, and homeschools are the best. But one of the things I notice is that sometimes instead of using the term homeschooling, you use the term home education. Is there some significance to that?
Well, absolutely. Schooling, we've just become so we think of school as synonymous with education, which it isn't. You might as well say indoctrination. So I use the word homeschool just because it's just the most common word to use, but I really like to get away from the idea of schooling and shoving a curriculum into the brains of our youth and really talk about education, which is the result of wanting to create something. So when a child has a desire to want to create, then education is just a natural consequence of that, rather than just teaching, arbitrary information or things that they should know that we've decided, or that the powers that be have decided that they should know. It's about really getting the children just pursuing their love and desire and individuality.
Well, I want to pursue that, Justin, because I asked this for a reason. So the learning that people would have without schooling, for a lot of us who went through schooling and grades and the bell rings and you leave the room and go down the hallway and the bell rings, and how do you learn if you aren't going to school?
Well, that's a great question. So learning, for instance, with me, I decided that I wanted to spend time with my family at home, so I decided I wanted to create a profession that would allow me to do that. And website development was always something that had interested me, and I didn't know a thing about it. I didn't know, just the basic, MySpace HTML or those kind of things. So I picked up a couple of books and started, and really it happened as a result of me wanting to create this life, and now that's what I do, full time, and it's facilitated a wonderful thing for my family. So it's the idea of getting to my desired end created the education of programming and content management systems and these things. So the same applies to children. When we can focus on the needs of the child and create and facilitate an environment as a facilitator or a guide to their for them just in general, and make it very relationship oriented that way. Children are just naturally fascinated by life itself, and they can when they're allowed to connect with what they're truly interested in, then they can master it, and they can spend, instead of 8 hours of being a jack of all trades, master of none, just kind of a general one-size-fits-all education, they can spend their entire time mastering or investigating and truly connecting with certain different aspects that they're interested in, and then by doing so, they naturally get mathematics. They get they're constantly reading and investigating. They learn all the general skills. So when you master one, you become pretty well versed and knowledgeable in others. So it encourages depth of knowledge and education that's going to help them produce what it is they would like to produce, rather than just being conditioned to just kind of go into the workplace and keep their heads down and blend into the status quo.
Justin, before we get into some of the details of Parents for Liberty and your homeschool directory and things like that, I wanted you to tell us a little bit about yourself, about your wife, Jessica, and your family. You're a parent, so I take it this is your main motivation. So tell us a little bit about yourself and being a parent.
Well, great. I mean, I have just an incredible I'm so passionate about my family. I feel like everything good that I've ever done in my life is a result of my relationship with my wife, and I've learned so much about my nature just through my children. Like I have a 3-year-old, and I have a 3-year-old boy named Azlan, and I have a 10-year-old named Ali, and a 12-year-old son named Michael, and my wife's name is Jessica, who co-founded the organization with me, and we just live together, and we've come across many hurdles, but we're learning together, and my kids are great, and my family is it's really interesting. Like we're definitely all individuals, and we bring something different to the table. It's pretty incredible life.
Okay, so you're raising 3 children, and you and your wife decide to co-found Parents for Liberty. How did you get from you're raising a family to deciding to form an organization?
Well, really, the organization is it's like a reflection of our pursuit. I mean, we've gone through the public education model, and we've gone through the punitive parenting model with our children, and these things just didn't work. And we always knew, we've been in the truth movement for a while, and we've done the research, and we say we're committed to, all of these things, politically and this and that, but we really have to take inventory. We looked at our relationship with our children, and it just wasn't what we wanted, and we realized, we could see the teeth of the public school, yet we were living by that hypocrisy, and this last year, 2012, was really taking personal inventory on our lives, and we just started cutting out our hypocrisies, just one after another. And it's always been there, but we didn't feel like we didn't have the courage at the time to really live by our beliefs, and so we spent that time in 2012 to do that. And our relationship with our children is it's just unbelievable what we've created with our kids, and then so we created Parents for Liberty because we had all these questions during this transitional process. And there's a lot of great work that's been done across the internet, but everything is just kind of jumbled, and it's hard to find. So we decided while we're doing this, let's create this organization like it's something that already exists, and it's something that that would have helped us tremendously at the time when we needed. So anytime we think about something, we're doing it through this organization so that we can create an infrastructure on the website and a community that can help others when going through the same process to be just as effective as possible.
Okay. Now, Parents for Liberty, I guess I would just ask the basic question: what is it? Can parents join it?
Absolutely. So, and I want to extend this. If parents, I'm not totally happy with the title because it kind of it just narrows this down. But if you have any kind of desire to have a relationship with our youth, or in any way, a teacher, even you'll fit in. So basically, you'll fit the aim, I should say. So joining is free. You can join through our website. And basically, for joining, we are going to get together materials. The Foundation for Economic Education has donated a couple of books to us to give to our members, called Great Myths of the Great Depression and iPencil. And we're also going to create packages for just to give as much information as possible for members. So when you ask what it is, we're not a top-down organization where we're kind of masterminding like this organization. And what we're going to do is facilitate kind of a medium for parents to create community through the website. We have plans to create like a social network on our site, and just have kind of a living, have a kind of a living website where parents are kind of contributing, and it's growing with the community, and hopefully we inspire others to create other organizations as well, that whatever will serve them. So we have big plans for conferences and these things, but we're going to kind of let it grow organically that way.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question here, Justin. You may have to finish the answer after the break, since we're coming close to a break here. But one of the things you say on your website is public schools are predatory. What did you mean by that?
Exactly as it sounded. Public schools are definitely not passively ineffective or bad for children. They are geared to basically create a refined citizenry. And yes, we can definitely get into that after the break.
We will. We are talking with Justin Arman. He is co-founder of Parents for Liberty. As he said, their website is parentsforliberty.org. You're listening to Live and Let Live on the Logos Radio Network. I'm Gary Johnson. You are listening to Live and Let Live on the Logos Radio Network. I'm Gary Johnson. We are live on Sunday, January 13th, and we are talking with Justin Arman. He and his wife, Jessica, are co-founders of Parents for Liberty. You can find their website at parentsforliberty.org. And before the break, Justin was explaining to us the provocative idea that public schools are predatory. So, Justin, again, tell us why public schools are predatory.
The government gets what it pays for. I mean, there's a wonderful short film you can watch. It's on YouTube. It's called School Sucks, The American Way. And you can also look at schoolsucksproject.com. And it just goes through kind of the history of public school, which really doesn't have that much history. It's kind of a newer concept, but something that we feel is an absolute necessity these days. But basically, it goes back to the word school comes from school. I believe I'm saying that correct, which is from the Kingdom of Prussia in the 1800s. They were having they were trying to basically they were wondering why soldiers would abandon battlefields or the self-preservation. They wanted to kind of beat out the self-preservation aspect of soldiers and the individual thinking of soldiers. So they created a system that was adopted, which pretty much public schools. There's a thesis, stating that public schools led to the Third Reich, the rise of the Third Reich, and fascism. So we just learn about all these things through history, and we wonder why a citizenry would allow, a tyrant like Hitler to come to power. Well, it's 100 years in the making. It's by basically creating a system that indoctrinates the children to kind of bow to authority, without using their critical thinking mechanisms.
All right, so
Horace Mann, basically the pioneer of public education, brought the Prussian system, kind of adopted the Prussian system in the 1840s, and there's he addressed the Massachusetts Board of Education, and he said, if Prussia can pervert the benign influences of education to the support of arbitrary power, we surely can employ them for the support and perpetuation of Republican institutions. So there's definitely a political motive here, and there's some literacy statistics that will just absolutely blow your mind, and how public education has literally destroyed literacy. Did you want me to go into that, or did you want to respond?
No, go right ahead. Horace Mann and these people who schemed all this, they're all, I don't know if you know much about John Dewey, but go right ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, I would love to point your your listeners, to Healing Our World, written by Dr. Mary Ruwart. This book it blew my mind. It's my favorite book in terms of its implications, and so please get that book. And a lot of this is in the education section, and I wanted to read just a brief couple of paragraphs from a chapter on education, which really measures the decline of literacy. And it says basically that literacy in the United States is on a steep decline. Before the end of World War II in 1945, 18 million men were tested to see if they could read well enough to be soldiers. Only 4% failed. In 1952, during the Korean War, 19% of the men tested were turned away as illiterate. The United States Army hired psychologists to find out, if they were faking it. They brought them into high schools, and they looked to see if they were faking it. My side note. Anyway, so by the end of the Vietnam War in 1973, 27% of potential inductees read too poorly to be accepted. Basically, and you can look this up. Definitely look at the sources on this. But before 1850, literacy was at 98%. That doesn't include the slave population. But between the North and South, literacy was at 98%. And in 1998, 59% of would-be teachers in Massachusetts failed a junior high level literacy test. So it just shows you.
That is amazing.
Like 25%.
So we went from about 4% illiteracy in 1945 to 58% illiteracy among teachers in 1998.
Right, and 25% of students that graduate high school aren't literate. I mean, they just simply aren't. I can say personally that I wasn't. I didn't. My education didn't start until after public school. Until I just kind of was into music, and I just I was into extracurricular activities and music, and politics bored me. It all seemed like bullocks, and economics bored me, and it was like this mystical thing that existed by a set of rules I couldn't even fathom. I just couldn't comprehend. And not until I started listening to kind of speeches from Ron Paul that it woke me up, and I said, hey, wait, politics is not that complicated. Non-aggression is not that complicated. And then that's when my education really started.
You mentioned Mary Ruwart, and Justin, she is the author of Healing Our World, and on your website, people can get some free, chapters from her book. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. Dr. Mary Ruwart has donated a couple of chapters for free, which you can go on our website and you can download the PDFs there. There's also a home education directory on our site. It's community-driven directory. However, we do kind of review all the submissions and just make sure that all the sources are quality. And however, we're really relaxed that way, and we know that our community is all liberty lovers. So you just submit. It's really easy, and it's growing right now. And basically, when you go there, you can get anything from subject learning. There are thousands of resources on the internet that are free. Basically, we live in an age now where, first of all, public education costs us around $13,000 a year, and that doesn't even include indirect costs. So we talk about free education. That's a lie. And in places like New York, New Jersey, Washington D.C., some of the worst public education systems, publicly, like from the Census Bureau, and even the liberal media is reporting on this, is saying that they're spending $19,000 a year per child in this system. So you can imagine what the numbers actually are. But in a model that we're talking about in terms of home education, or if we could get the government out of regulating out of regulating education, we can offer education for students for free. People don't realize that we really can. We can create systems with our technology, with our tablets, and with the internet, where we can. It's so easy to provide education at such minimal cost that would be enough just from people that could help out. I mean, education would be close to nothing, and if there was a cost, it would be so little that it would be anybody, even the poorest families, could make this happen. And by the way, poor families are actually more likely. They go above and beyond to get their children out of public school just for the safety of their child. So, yeah, the poor families are currently footing the bill for the abomination we call public education, and somehow working out private education for their students whenever possible as well.
Well, Justin,
go ahead.
I was going to ask you, what is the legality of homeschooling in Texas and other places? Do parents who decide to do homeschooling, do they face harassment from the state?
Okay, so that's a great question. In Texas, we are, I think, the least regulated state for homeschooling. It's very easy. Texas respects homeschooling, at least on paper. So if you read the law, there is almost no regulation. It says something like you have to have a printed kind of curriculum, and you have to teach your children the basics in reading, writing, and good citizenship, which is just funny, right? I mean, the word good citizenship just turns me off. But in any case, when you decide to homeschool, it's very easy, and I'll get into that after the break.
Okay, we're talking with Justin Arman, co-founder of Parents for Liberty. You're listening to Live and Let Live on the Logos Radio Network. I'm Gary Johnson. And Justin, you were telling us about the legality of homeschooling, and so in theory, on paper, it's perfectly legal in Texas.
Absolutely, completely legal. However, we've run into instances ourselves with teachers threatening us, with sending a man with a gun and a funny hat to our door to ensure that we are schooling our children. And they also try to get us to sign a bunch of their self-incriminating documents, which we refuse. So if you decide to homeschool, which I really hope you do, basically you can sign up for an organization called Homeschool Legal Defense Association, and it's like $10 a month, and they have a team of attorneys that are there to fight for your rights. So if you get threatened by the schools, if you have a sheriff come to your door, you have a direct line to an attorney that will. You can basically tell the sheriff or CPS or whatever institution that they threaten you with that you've retained an attorney and you know your rights, and they'll walk you through the process. It's really wonderful. When I was threatened, I was shaken up, and I was. A friend told me about this organization, Homeschool Legal Defense Association, and I really felt empowered after I joined. So I encourage you to do that. Just join them. It's really fast and easy process that way. And then I also encourage you to follow others like once you get into this realm, there are so many organizations that are here to help. But primarily, just contact me through my website, or you can email me at justin@parentsforliberty.org. And I'll call you, I'll talk to you, I'll do whatever I can to support you in this. I know what it feels like to have this state bully you, and I've got your back.
Okay, that organization, their website is HSLDA, and I actually got that link from going to parentsforliberty.org and going around. There's a place for about legal defense in there. It's part of the directory. One of the things, Justin, that you say is that there's no correlation between the success of homeschooled or home-educated children and the education level of the parent. It must be kind of intimidating to decide to homeschool your children.
Yes, I'm going to say this to you listeners, that do not doubt yourself. There is no correlation between the level of education that you have and the success of your children. So whether you have a high school diploma or a PhD, if you create an environment, an enriching environment, and you look for support through an organization like parentsforliberty.org and all the resources that will direct you to through that website, you can do it, and your child can have, if you start from the beginning, an average. It's on average that an 8th grade homeschooled child has the proficiency of a 12th grader in public school. So it's not bringing the classroom home, which you just need to focus on those words. You're not bringing the classroom home. The classroom is what's holding your child from being their greatness and being truly educated. So just getting out of the child's way, creating an environment, and looking for support and finding the things that you and your child can connect with. The goal is learning beside your child, learning with your child. You are not the teacher. You're the guide. You're the facilitator. And when you're coming from a place of love and you're coming from a place of connecting with your child, the teaching and what happens when you're learning together is so much more enriching and can create such a heightened level of critical thinking that public school just cannot offer your child.
Justin, on your website, parentsforliberty.org, you talk about something called peaceful parenting. What is that?
Well, peaceful parenting, peaceful parenting is basically just built on the premise of treating your child as a whole individual, as an individual that's not broken, as an individual that basically that you can cultivate a joyful, loving relationship with, and you don't need to use punishment, and you don't need to use spanking, and you don't need to use force or coercion or aggression or threats in order to teach your child. So peaceful parenting is really built upon a premise of love and joyful living. Basically, you don't need to use it. It's 90%, and I know that I sound like a crackpot to the majority of people out there, because 90% of people are broadcasting to this hive mind mentality that spanking and punishment and coercion and force is the only way to condition a child's behavior. So with the peaceful parenting model, I'm not demonizing anybody, and I've been down the road of using spanking myself, and it's okay, because we're always doing the best we know how to do. So basically, when you take punishment and violence and threats out of the equation with your parenting paradigm, it forces you to, as a parent, to use reason, creativity, practice, and basically when you stay in the realm of reason, logic, and creativity and practice, when you connect with your child, you speak to their rational mind. So many people believe that children do not have the capability of reason, which is another. It's just untrue. All of these aren't really original thoughts. They're just kind of repeated, and it's untrue. So with the peaceful parenting model, when in terms of discipline, the peaceful parent discipline is not synonymous with punishment. So the whole premise of punishment and needing spanking and threats is so that our children don't become wild animals and power grab and hit each other and are crazy and all. I completely empathize with that fear. Rather, when you okay, so. Sorry, I'm a bit scatterbrained.
Well, but it's kind of an expansion of the libertarian principle of the non-aggression principle, but it's taken into the family, into the household. Often libertarians don't apply that in the family. They say the family is kind of not, it's only political, this non-aggression principle, but you're taking it inside the home as well.
Absolutely. So I don't understand why when you call non-aggression a principle, why you check that at your door. I mean, the non-aggression principle is supposed to apply to our weakest, to our most vulnerable. Stefan Molyneux from Free Domain Radio, most of you have heard of him, just probably the most important philosopher of our time, in my opinion. Basically, he talks about a principle, and a principle is not to be applied to a certain like organization. I mean, a principle is supposed to be universal rather than institutions like existing by a separate set of morality or a separate set of principles. So, for instance, it's not okay for us to use
violence.
Oh, sorry, I accidentally muted myself. I apologize.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Is that okay to use violence?
Right, exactly. Right, exactly. So if we truly want non-aggression to be applied to our community, to our society, then we teach by our actions, not by our words. So we can't teach non-aggression as a scholarly thing or an informational thing. We have to teach with our actions. All
right. Justin, we've got a little over a minute left here. At parentsforliberty.org, people can check out your Liberty Library and check out the homeschool directory. And I see that they can also provide their email address, and I guess they would get updates on what's going on with Parents for Liberty. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. I encourage you to join. We'll be sending materials as we can raise money. We also have a donate button. We're geared as a not-for-profit, so every dollar that is donated will be applied to the organization and the growth of the organization. But we plan on sending everybody that joins, as supplies allow, everybody that joins a care package with all these resources and information, and we look forward to having you as a member.
A care package. So is this like books, or what is it?
Yes, we're throwing together books and materials and all these resources. So we're just basically putting together just a body of work that is just going to make this transition as easy as possible for parents in the community.
All right, for more home education and peaceful parenting. Justin Arman, co-founder of Parents for Liberty, thank you for joining us here on Live and Let Live.
Thank you so much.